Washington comes in and says, hey, don't forget about me, man. What are y'all doing? Why are y'all selling me short? He has a great game, and the Mavs get themselves a 4-point win.
Yeah, Washington was phenomenal again. Back-to-back games, he has been very good for this Mavericks team. I thought the Thunder didn't shoot the three ball very well, but when you dive through the box score, I mean, both teams shot right around 33%, but you had Dort and Giddey shoot 11 of the 33-pointers for the Thunder. That's great for the Mavericks. That's who they would like to be shooting that ball. And when you look at the offensive rebound specifically, we talked about the additional size the Mavs added at the trade deadline. They win the offensive rebounding by 9 rebounds, win the second chance points significantly, and that ended up being the difference in the game.
Yeah, we take a look here. That point prop we were talking about was high for SGA. He gets there, 31 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, a steal, and 5 blocks, Mike. He got there on basically everything. You could have bet him over whatever was available to you out there, and SGA got there.
Yeah, 5 blocks, very impressive. I mean, he and Holmgren combined for 9 blocks in this game. That was a problem for the Mavs inside. But again, the rebounding difference was the big key for them, able to consistently get offensive and defensive boards, get second chance opportunities. And you know, Shea needs help. And when you go on the road in these playoff games, that's when you need those role players to be able to step up. And the role players from the Thunder just weren't able to contribute as much as they were able to at home.
Hey, just cruise to that Kyrie Irving over on the PRA there.
Easy one.
Yeah,
easy one.
Over 32.5. He had 34 combined. It's okay. A win is a win is a win is a win. It doesn't matter how much he went over. We'll discount that he went over there. But PJ Washington does go for 27 points. If you guys did not watch that, 6 rebounds for him as well, a couple of assists. And Mike, you kind of look at this Mavs team and you say, all right, Kyrie, Luka, if they actually have a third option, if PJ Washington can be that true, real third option, that kind of changes what we think about this Mavericks team as a whole.
It is. And it's interesting because I'm not sure PJ Washington, like, he's not a phenomenal player, but when you put him with Luka and Kyrie and you have 2 players that are consistently getting doubles, all of a sudden somebody's open, and it's been PJ Washington the last couple games. He's gotten opportunities, and he's hit the threes that he's taken. 5 for 12 last night, 7 for 11 in game 2. Look, the volume obviously extremely high from the three-point range, but if he's open and willing to take those shots and hitting them, it's a big plus for this Mavericks team. So you love the fact that, you know, getting Gafford, getting Washington at the trade deadline, adding the size, adding the defense, they pushed all the right buttons. And when you have a Luka who isn't even fully healthy, and you could tell last night, not fully healthy, he only took 4 threes. He's willing to say, hey, I'm going to step back. I'm going to let Kyrie do some of the work. Kyrie had a nice 8-point fourth quarter to help support Luka there, and then be able to get those open shots for the ancillary role players. It makes this Mavericks team extremely tough when they are rebounding, playing defense like they were last night.
Donovan Mitchell went for 33 for the Cavs. It was not enough. 106-93. Celtics win and cover. I mean, you see Mitchell gets to his point prop, you know, I mean, pretty efficient night, 12 of 22, 7 of 12 from deep. But that being said, Mike, it's just, you know, it's kind of what we keep saying with the Cavs team, right? It's like they've got Mitchell, and it's kind of like, where is that number 2? We know where the number 2 is with the Mavs. We're saying, oh, maybe they have a number 3. You're still searching for a number 2 there for the Cavs, and with all of that, a fairly easy win there for the Celtics.
Yeah, they kind of cruised. It's why you saw the reaction from Tatum. This is the expectation that, hey, it's going to be fine. We'll show up 4 of these 7 games, and we'll get through this round, and they will. They're right. The question is, can they turn it on when they face the Western Conference champion, or can they turn it on when they face the Knicks? Because that will be a much tougher test if it does end up being the Knicks instead of the Pacers. You mentioned Mitchell. We talked about this yesterday. Cavs were catching 7.5. I'm never betting the Cavs plus 7.5. I'd rather take Mitchell's points prop over, because if he doesn't go over his point prop, they're not covering, and he can go over that point prop in a loss, which is exactly what he did yesterday.
Yeah, 43 minutes for Mitchell, basically out there the whole time, 33 points for him in that one. There will be no sweep. Hurricanes 4-3 win over the Rangers to force a game number 5 here. So, like we said, Mike, it's just not going to happen. The playoffs, they just don't allow you for a sweep.
No, they don't. And this was the Canes team that was able to get 3 goals in the first period. We talked about that game 3, how they dominated the first period, only able to get 1 on Shesterkin. Last night, they get 2 quick ones in the first 10 minutes, able to add a third before the break, go up 3-1 at the end of the first. The Rangers came back, but the Hurricanes able to salt this one away late. Game 5 now becomes massive. We talked about this yesterday. I wouldn't be shocked if we end up seeing 7 in this series, because you still have Carolina getting to play at home in Game 6. So the Rangers really need to take care of business in Game 5 now. They don't want to go back to Carolina, where that building's going to be rocking and all the pressure will be on the Rangers.
Stars take a 2-1 series lead with a 4-1 road win over the Avalanche. We have had multiple people come on the show, Mike, say that maybe the Stars are the best. I mean, we understand everyone's kind of jumbled together, but maybe the Stars are the best team. You have had a little bit of love for the Stars as well somewhere along the way, and here they are now up 2-1 in that series.
That's the team we talked about at 25-1 to win the Stanley Cup when they were down 0-2 to Vegas. They were 11-1 to win the Cup when they were down 2-1 to Vegas. And this game last night, it ended up 4-1. It was really a 2-1 game. 2 empty net goals for Dallas here. But I was so impressed with the way that Dallas was able to play in the third period. We talk about protecting leads in the Stanley Cup and being able to play in the opposite team's zone. Dallas was able to spend a good 10 minutes of that third period in Colorado's zone, even with Colorado pushing, able to clog up the neutral zone. Colorado not able to get any speed through the neutral zone, so they had to dump and chase to be able to try and get possession in Dallas's zone. And the Stars able to roll 4 lines. That's a huge advantage when you were playing a team like Colorado at high altitude. You had a lot of players who were not tired at the end of that game for Dallas, and a lot of other teams end up fading when they're playing a team like Colorado.
Paul Skeens' day didn't go quite as expected for him, but still a very solid debut for the big right-hander for the Pirates. He goes 84 pitches, so they did let him go, Mike. I mean, they stretched him out. He only went longest outing in the minors was 75. So basically they were just ramping him up to let him go a little bit longer when he gets called up. He goes 84 pitches. He does strike out 7 along the way, walks 2 and hits a batter. So that's something that need to be worked on a little bit. Averaged 100.1 miles per hour with his fastball, got into a little bit of trouble, and they pulled him, ends up with 3 earned attached to him in that one. But all in all, I think if you're a Pirates fan, you got to be pretty excited about what you saw yesterday with Skeens.
Oh yeah, you got to be over the moon, right? He averaged 100.1 miles per hour on his fastball. Averaged, not a high. His average was 100.1 miles per hour. And I was impressed with his slider. Multiple Cubs hitters just shaking their head when they see that slider come in after seeing the fastball consistently. Still working on his control. That was the big thing. He talked after the game. He mentioned he was nervous. He knows he needs to dial his control, and he felt that was a big part of why he lost some of that control. And the walks need to go down. If you want to be able to go deeper in games and you're throwing 85 pitches, you can't be walking multiple batters when you're also striking out 7. That just compiles your pitch count.
Braves went for 8 2/3 of no-hit baseball yesterday, but J.D. Martinez comes in. Not only does he get a hit, he hits a home run there with 1 out to go. Braves have not had a no-hitter since Kent Mercker in 1994. So there's your trivia for the day. But as we do each and every day on the show here on The Handle, we have 5 things we're looking to bet.
All right, classic. High five. It's time for The Handle's High Five. High five. All right. Number 1.
All right, Mike, we got us a game 4, Knicks and the Pacers. Of course, we will go in depth into this in the very next segment, but we want to bring it up 5.5 right now in favor of the Pacers. 218.5 is the total, plus 180 on the Knicks if you think they win it outright.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. This is the spot where the Knicks need to try and come out, take one of the 2 in Indiana. We saw game 3. We talked about it. It was a good spot for the Pacers. They were able to play well, but the Knicks kind of fought back in that spot. Now the Knicks have the opportunity to go back to the Garden up 3-1, try and close this thing out in 5, but they need this game tonight. It's going to be all about what we see from these Knicks starters. What's the health of the Knicks going to be like? Are they going to be able to, on a quick turnaround, play the minutes that we expect the starters to be able to play and still be effective?
Keep it going.
Number 2.
Nuggets and Timberwolves as well. That is 8 o'clock Eastern. 2.5 right now in favor of the Timberwolves. 204.5 on the total. Plus 120 on the money line if you think the Nuggets win.
I'm excited to talk about this one with you, Matt, because I am struggling to come up with a solid opinion in this series. It feels like we saw 8 quarters in Denver that were completely different than the 4 quarters we saw in Minnesota. We saw that the championship response from the Nuggets. They've got to do it again. They've got to go back home tied 2-2. They can't go back to Denver down 3-1. Nick
Whalen going to join us a little bit later as well to go over all of his thoughts on the NBA today as well. Let's keep it going.
Number 3.
Hockey and horses. We do it every single show. It obviously highlights my opinion on all the things that are going on in the hockey and horses. Or no, this is all Mike. We're also going to have Adam Kimmelman is going to join us a little bit later as well from NHL.com. He's going to talk some hockey. Where are we headed for the track, though?
We're headed to Gulfstream Park for the track, and I'm excited to talk about this Bruins-Panthers game as well, Matt. Right. No Brad Marchand. The Bruins going to be missing their captain in a must-win game for him.
Here we go.
Number 4.
You and I are going to do a special piece of programming here on the network because the NFL schedule release is on Wednesday, and you and me are going to try to react on the fly. So we're going to be, we're going to be doing math. We're going to be doing algebra. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff, trying to figure out what it means whenever we get all of that. But we'll have that on Wednesday. But we're going to look over kind of the 2 make the playoffs before we see the schedule, and then we'll go over that afterwards as well.
Yeah, looking forward to drafting who we like to make the playoffs here. After I dominated you last week in the MVP draft, I'm expecting a better performance from you, Matt.
Let's wrap it up.
Number 5.
We'll take a quick look at the Wells Fargo because it actually got interesting. So not a bad performance by Xander at all there. Might just kind of in neutral, but Rory McIlroy was not in neutral. And so now even money on Xander and plus 105 on Rory McIlroy as we head into Sunday.
Does Rory win tournaments anymore?
Woo, we're going to find out today. If he doesn't come back and win this thing, boy, can you imagine the narrative around Rory. When we come back, we are going to hit each and every one of those NBA games, give you our thoughts, any bets on our account as well.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, we got a new website. You need to go to it, VSiN.com, VSIN.com. You type it into your computer, you're going to see that it looks a whole lot better and works a whole lot better. But if you type it into your mobile phone, that's where the difference is made here, Mike. It is optimized for your mobile phone. You get the bets, the splits, the articles, the odds, the tools, the guides, each and everything, and it just comes in a much better package. VSiN.com, I know you go each and every day.
I do. I'm always on that website. I love the picks. I love the splits. We've got the articles. You got everything you could want there at VSiN.com.
It is something that we put a lot of work into, and we appreciate you going and taking a look at VSIN.com. We were talking about a little bit as we went to break there, and you asked if it was appropriate to, say, does Rory win tournaments anymore? But I mean, it is a fair. It's fair, right? I mean, look, they did win the. They won the team tournament a few weeks ago, but it seems like it's kind of few and far between on these solo tournaments. And this is in a tournament without Scottie Scheffler and Ludwig Åberg. This is about as good as you could ask for. 2 of the biggest names in the game going to be going head to head. Xander enters with a 1-stroke lead over Rory, and they're going to be going head to head to win this thing. I'm not saying that Sung Jae can't come from 4 back of Xander and 3 back of Rory, but it's highly unlikely. Sepp Straka, Jason Day, all these guys that are multiple strokes. It looks like it's going to be a heavyweight bout there between Xander and Rory. Remember, this is an elevated event, so there's big money attached to this one as well, and so there's a lot at stake here for all this. And get it while you can. Get it while Scottie isn't in there, man. Just get y'all's win. Take the money, hoist the trophy. Who cares if Scottie wasn't in the field?
Yeah, $20 million purse, so plenty of money up top here for whoever's able to win this. I love the fact that it's head-to-head, too. You mentioned, Im is 3 back of Rory, 4 back of Scheifele to be able to win the tournament, but you really think it's going to be one of those 2 in the final group, and so it's fun to be able to watch them go head-to-head. We'll see if Rory can pull it out. Yeah. He has played well on Sundays to make top 5s. He's played well on Saturdays to get in contention, but just not able to seal the deal. Feels like it's one of those now or never type situations for Rory.
Listen, like I said, one of them has to get this done, and who cares if Scottie isn't in the field? It's not their fault that he didn't play. So a win is a win is a win, and that $4 million up top will sit nicely in someone's bank account. That's for sure. Okay, so first tip coming in about 3 hours. Let's call it 3:15. Knicks and the Pacers, 5.5 in favor of the Knicks, of the Pacers at home. 219 is the total, plus 180 on the Knicks. No OG in this game for the Knicks. So again, Mike, this is kind of something that we keep talking about, and the narrative around this Knicks squad is just, man, how much can they take? How much can they take? You get down a guy, and then you get down another guy, and then you get down another guy here for this team, and they continue to find a way, and they're very scrappy, and the guys that are out on the court are really making some things happen. But I guess the question is, we're sitting here as a 5.5 point spread, when is too much, right?
Yeah, where's the breaking point? Because it felt like it was last game, but the Knicks were very much in it.
Yeah.
Tied at 106 late in the game. You saw a big three from Indiana. McBride ends up playing 29 minutes. Burks plays 21. Sims, the only other bench player, logs 4 minutes. So really just a 7-man rotation. And McBride and Burks weren't guys who were getting minutes last series. They were not playing. And so you've seen the injuries kind of take their toll on this Knicks team. But I look over at the Pacers side. Look, they lost to the Bucks with no Giannis, with no Lillard, with only 8 minutes from Portis. It's not like this is a Pacers team that is a phenomenal basketball team. Now, they do play better at home, so I would expect a decent effort here from the Pacers today. I still like the Knicks. I bet the Knicks every game in this series. I have the Knicks to win the series. I don't trust this Pacers defense. And in the playoffs, when you don't play defense, it comes back to bite you at some point. Halliburton has looked better for this Pacers team. I liked how he was hunting his shot in Game 3. We'll see if he's able to do it in Game 4. But I can't trust the Pacers laying this many points. If they're laying 1, if they're laying 2, okay, I can get behind the Pacers. But when they're laying 5.5, 7, it's too much with an Indiana team that doesn't play defense.
Yeah, it is. It's super interesting whenever we kind of start to break this down because, like, it seems like any other team, if they were down 1 starter and then down 2 starters and then down 3 starters, and we'd be like, no way, team's done. And like for whatever reason, we'd see this Knicks team and how scrappy they've been and just all the way that Brunson at times has put the cape on and become Superman out there on the court. And it's hard for us, though, to completely dismiss this Knicks team where I think a lot of other teams would just be like, yeah, no chance.
Well, look, I would dismiss this Knicks team if this was the Celtics on the other side of the court, right? Yeah. I would dismiss this Knicks team if it was anyone from the Western Conference on the other side of the court. But because we are sitting here in the East, because this is a Pacers team who's honestly not that great, right? Like there are reasons to be like, sure. Maybe in this situation, it's going to be okay. I'm really interested to see DiVincenzo today and what he does. His point prop entering the series was 15.5. He went up in Game 2, went up in Game 3. Now we're sitting at 23.5 here. So an 8-point move in his point prop from the start of the series to today. You can't really disagree with it, though. He's gone over 23.5 in every single game. He put up 35 in the last game. He's shooting 56% from 3 in this series. I'm guessing that's probably going to regress a little bit at some point, Matt. But look, he's averaging 11 3-pointers right now per game. If he puts up 21 shots, 11 of them are threes, it's hard to see a world where he doesn't go over 23.5 points. He's clearly the number 2 option on this team right now.
Yeah, I have it kind of right at that number, but the problem is, like I said, the role has changed now. The minutes have changed now and all of that. So it's like I have it right at that number. So if I have it right at that number, we think that the shot attempts are going to go up, and we think that at least the opportunity, right? I mean, we don't know if it's going to go in the hoop or not, but we're just betting on opportunity. We want the opportunity to get there. I could only be swayed towards the over. You have to assume incredibly heavy minutes. You have to assume increased volume. With all of that, that kind of points towards an over if they're going to have any chance of staying in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his 3 prop right now, over 4.5 made threes in the game. If he makes 5 threes, which is, plus 102 right now, that's 15 points, right? Mm-hmm. You're 3/4 or 2/3 of the way there to the 23.5 already just with those 3-pointers if you're looking at his prop. So you got to think the opportunity is there. And we talk about this a lot of times when we're talking about props in the NFL, right? You're looking for volume. Are you going to get the chance to be able to go over a number, or are you going to not have the volume and you play the under? The volume's going to be there for DiVincenzo. It's just whether or not the ball goes in the basket.
The other big props attached to people out there, Jalen Brunson, 32.5 points. Miles Turner, 17.5 points. Pascal Siakam at 21.5 points. And then Tyrese Halliburton at 21.5 points as well there, Mike. Jalen Brunson, again, it's kind of like those. It's another one of those deals where it's just hard to argue with the number. I understand it's astronomical, but he's going to play, so long as this game doesn't get out of hand, he's going to play 44, 45 minutes. I mean, everything runs through Brunson basically at some way, shape. We talk about usage all the time. His usage absolutely through the roof. You get it. Why it is sitting at 32.5 on Brunson. And again, with the Pacers team that doesn't play a ton of defense, if you think that they're going to try to increase the pace and keep it going, I hate to say I would only lean towards the over on Brunson, but I would only lean towards the over on Brunson.
Yeah, it's tough because we're talking about who else is playing here for the Knicks. I mean, Hachimura played 22 minutes. Hartenstein played 39 minutes. It's really Brunson, Hart, and DiVincenzo that are putting up the majority of the shots for this Knicks team. Yeah, McBride and Burks each went for 10 and 14 in Game 3, but with the current lineup, it's really those 3 that are going to be the big-time offensive getters and on this Knicks team. And in that case, Like, it's hard not to look at Brunson and DiVincenzo as overs because you got to think the Knicks are getting to 100 in this game. Where is that coming from? If you break down that point distribution, I don't expect McBride and Burks to go for 24 in this game. That was a surprise, a plus for the Knicks there. I think it's going to have to be Brunson and DiVincenzo.
Nuggets and the Timberwolves, 2.5 in favor of the Timberwolves at home. 204.5 is your total. Plus 120 on the Nuggets money line if you think they win this thing outright in this one. We were burying the Nuggets. There were people burying the Nuggets. They decided they were not going to be buried quite yet, Mike, and so we see them fight back. Really good game last time out, and now they're just short dogs here on the road to the Timberwolves.
Yeah, we saw the championship effort, the championship fight out of the Nuggets. They ratcheted up the defensive intensity, able to keep this Timberwolves team in check, able to figure out some things on the offensive end as well. You didn't see the same issues that Jamal Murray had in Game 1 and Game 2 that you did in Game 3. I still like this Timberwolves team more with Gobert on the court. It's odd to say that, I realize it, but it feels like they have a better offensive flow when it's Towns and Naz Reid versus when it's Towns, Reid, and Gobert. We'll see what happens here during the game if we do see as much Gobert as we did in Game 3. I can't bet this game pre-flop. My eyes showed me two completely different series in Game 1 and Game 2 versus what I saw in Game 3. I want to see what the Nuggets come out with. I would tend to lean toward whatever team kind of controls the first quarter is the team that's going to win this basketball game.
Yeah, you start to see some of these role players, point props too, that become fairly interesting because you're like, man, what role exactly are they going to play? Because this is either way too low or way too high. Like KCP is sitting 7.5. Man, he shoots a lot of three. You know, it's like only need a couple of them to go down to get over on that one. You start to look like Aaron Gordon sitting at 11.5. There's some very interesting ones on the kind of periphery players.
Yeah, there are. And that's where I like to attack point props. I don't love attacking the 29.5s, the 33.5s. This series has my mind in a blender, though, just because of how different it was in Game 1 and Game 2 versus Game 3. I don't know what to expect in Game 4, and because of that, it's really hard to try and find lines to create valuable bets.
Yeah, up and down. Conley 10.5, Naz Reid 10.5, Rudy Gobert 11.5, McDaniels 8.5. It's just tons and tons trying to decipher what's going to happen. Let's head to the ice when we come back here on The Handle.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
I know you're driving along right now and you're going, man, what can I do to become a better? Well, how about getting a VSiN Pro subscription? And we have a spring special right now in which we're going to give you something absolutely free. 2 months absolutely free. In fact, go in for $199. You go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code HANDLE, HANDLE. And when you do, we're going to give you 14 months of VSiN Pro, not 12, for $199. You've heard us say 12 months, $199. 12 months, $100. No, it's 14 months in our spring special. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code HANDLE, HANDLE. Matt and Mike here on a Sunday. Mike, I don't want to gloss over before we hit the NHL games here that Tyrese Halliburton is actually listed as questionable for this game, and he kind of hobbled his way to the post-game presser, if you guys have seen the highlights of all this, and he says, it was my ankle. I rolled my ankle on that steal with the layup in the fourth, and I landed on my tailbone there on that one. So just my overall body right now, I'm hurting, but I mean, they have guys that are hurting too. We got to understand everybody is hurting right now. So there is that, at least. I don't want to pass without saying that at least there is could be a potential major loss, though it seems like from that quote, I'm hurt, they're hurt, everyone's hurt, we play hurt.
Yeah, he'll go today. You got to keep an eye on the ankle, obviously, so you make sure he doesn't re-injure it. But I would expect you're going to see Halliburton go, and that's a big one for them, right? We saw him banged up in the first round, and they weren't able to play their best basketball when he wasn't 100%. Like I said, he was hunting his shot yesterday or 2 days ago, and that was a big difference for this Pacer team. Took 16 threes in that game. He needs to hunt his shot again. Hopefully, the ankle doesn't keep him from doing that because he's a big loss for the Pacers if he's not out there 100%.
Our first puck drop today is Panthers and the Bruins. Panthers are minus 166. Road favorites over the Bruins, plus 140. If you like Boston, 5.5 is our total in this one, Mike. While we don't know what's going on with Halliburton over on the NBA side of things, we definitely know that the Bruins captain, Brad Marchand, is out for Game 4. There was no one really knows, because you know how hockey is. It's like upper body injury. That's all we know. We don't know if it's a concussion. It's speculated that maybe it's a concussion, but the Bruins will be without Marchand tonight. They find themselves as plus 140 dogs.
Yeah, I love the hockey injury reports. Yeah. It's either an upper body injury or lower body injury. Yeah. That's all you get.
That's it.
Because if you're out there, they don't want you to know it's your shoulder, it's your knee, whatever. It's a physical game. You get hit. Like that's not what we're looking for. So you get a little less information here from the hockey side, but Marchand will not play today. Huge loss here for the Bruins. Not the, best offensive player, not the best defensive player, but the heart and soul of this team, someone who can play on both sides of the ice, is very dangerous on the power play, very good defensively, getting back 200 feet from the net. It's a big loss for a Bruins team that just has looked overmatched in the last 2 games against the Panthers. We talked about this Panthers team yesterday, what they were able to do in Game 2 to be able to just step on the throat of the Bruins. Once they took the lead, they were able to keep the puck in the Bruins zone. We saw it again in Game 3 where they were able to dominate that game as well, get a 6-2 victory. It's hard to not back the Panthers at this point. This to me is one of the 2 most impressive teams. To me, it's the Panthers and the winner of that Stars-Avs series that are going to be in the Stanley Cup final. I would expect the Panthers keep it rolling here. I bet them for the series. I don't want to lay the minus 162. I haven't played this game yet. If I do, it'll be Panthers minus 1.5 or Panthers in regulation to try and get a little bit better of a price. It just seems like a situation where the Panthers are the better team, and this Bruins team's a little lucky to be here. It took them 7 to be able to get through a Toronto Maple Leafs team that you didn't see Austin Matthews play. You were rotating the goalies throughout that series, and still it took them a while to get through it. Now they're playing a better Panthers team, and it's showing.
You can see right here on your screen, series Panthers minus 450, Bruins plus 360. You can get the exact score in the series. Florida 4-1 is plus 170, 4-2 is plus 250, 4-3 is plus 350. You think Boston comes back 4-2, 10-1, and then 4-3 plus 650. The series total games, if it just goes 5 games, plus 170, 6 games, plus 175, and 7 games, 2-1 here, Mike. But yeah, it does. You look and again, we all know I'm not the biggest hockey fan. I never played throughout the course of my life. It's hard for me to relate because I never laced them up. I never got out there. But from what I can glean, it does look like the Panthers, for the vast majority of a lot of the game, even the one that they lost, it seems like they were the team that looked just visually, right? Like just looked much better than Boston. And I'm not even saying like a little bit better. They looked fairly dominant.
Yeah, they have been dominant in this series. When they have had a lead, they've been able to control the pace, control the puck. Even in the game they lost, like you said, they were the better team in that game. They have been the better team through all 3 of these games in this series. They're able to roll multiple lines. They've got players who are very good offensively, but also can get back. And the depth on their defense, I think, is understated. It's a lot of guys who came up as highly touted defensive prospects who didn't pan out for one reason or another, or were very good in their original destination. But that team, like Ekman Larson, who played for Arizona, look, the Coyotes just weren't very good. He was going to go somewhere else. He ended up on this Panthers team, and now he's a solid backbone for this defense as well. And you got Ekblad there. Just a lot of talent on the backside of this Panthers defense. And you've got Bobrovsky, who's playing well in net. So you just have everything that you could want from this Panthers team when you're looking to move forward. And on the Bruins side, you're kind of rotating through 2 goalies. Both are very good in Swayman and Ullmark, but just the fact that that's a conversation to me is an issue. Now you're missing Marchand as well. This is a tough spot for this Bruins team. Like I said, to me, it's Panthers or pass here. I don't either lay the 1.5 or go in regulation.
9:40 Eastern will be the Canucks and the Oilers. This is minus 205 in favor of the Oilers at home, plus 170 for the Canucks on the road, 6.5 instead of the 5.5 in this one here, Mike. We see this thing, we're heading in evened up right now, 1 game apiece. Game number 2 was fairly even, and I think game number 1 fairly even. I don't know. You just said you don't think either one of these teams has a future anyway, but do you see any separation here in game number 3?
The Oilers are the better team. The question is, are they going to play like it for a full 60 minutes? That's been their issue throughout the playoffs over the last couple years. That was their issue in game 1, where they dominated the first 30 minutes of play and then just took their foot off the gas. And we saw the Canucks get some fluky goals, some lucky goals, and then be able to just ratchet up the momentum and get the win in game 1, 5-4. In game 2, it was mystifying because like the Oilers come out, they play well early, but then they have a brutal second period, and all of a sudden McDavid saves them in the third period. They get the win in overtime. It feels, I don't want to comp them to Boston because they're not as good as the Celtics are in the NBA, but you just don't get the consistency of effort from this Oilers team that you'd like to see. And then on top of that, you've got a goaltending issue. Like Skinner has bad games, and game 1 was one of those bad games. And so it's hard to get overly excited about the Oilers. All that being said, I just don't like this Vancouver team. Like they're ahead of schedule. They don't have the game breakers that I think the Oilers have in this spot. I laid the goal and a half with the Oilers today, got plus 125 on it. They're with Edmonton at home. This is a game where they need to just go in, take care of business, win game 3, win game 4. And I do think you're going to get a more focused effort here at home from the Oilers. So I laid the goal and a half plus 125, Matt.
If you're watching at home, series, Oilers minus 275, Canucks plus 230. Edmonton 4-1 is plus 280, 4-2 plus 240, and then 4-3 is 4-1. Vancouver 4-1 is 12-1. 4-2, 8-1, and then 4-3 is 5-1. If you think this thing is done in 5 games one way or another, plus 220, 6 games plus 150, and then 7 games plus 190. Hey, Mike, if you were a betting man, if you were, how many games does this series go?
I mean, the favorite makes sense here, right? Edmonton 4-2. They are the favorite in the series. They're going to be favored. They're about minus 200 in both of these home games. They're minus 205 today. They'll probably be minus 205, 210 in game 4. We'll go back to Vancouver, where you're going to see a very good effort from Vancouver, especially if they're down 3-1. And then you head back to Edmonton, 3-2 Oilers, where they can close it out at home. I mean, plus 240 for Edmonton 4-2 in 6 plus 150. Those two make the most sense to me.
Yesterday, we were talking about how the odds of Drake May starting week 1 had plummeted. And we were trying to figure out, is that just because people didn't agree with the odds, what was going on? And then one of the headlines today coming out, Gerard Mayo asked about how Drake May's doing at rookie minicamp. He has a lot to work on, He literally said it twice. He has a lot to work on, So he's repeated it twice, Mike. So look, he said, but I have no doubt that he will put in the time. He was here all night trying to get on the same page as everybody else. And so it seems like maybe they're starting to lay the groundwork for him not actually playing in week 1.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Mayo, I don't want him to play in week 1, right? I don't want this to be the beginning of my coaching tenure. And you're tied to this guy. Whether you like it or not, you are tied to the success of Drake May. And if you want to give him the best chance of success, it's not playing him right out of the gate. But you got to feel for Mayo. Because anytime someone says something twice like that, they're just kind of shaking their head. There's something internally they're not completely saying. And then the fact that he said he had to stay all night to get on the same page, it's like, well, don't you just keep that internally? You don't really need to share that. That's not great news here if you're a Pats fan.
It's like one of those things where you expect Belichick to say something like that, but then you're thinking like, okay, hey, new coach, let's get some new vibes in here. And it's like, yeah, he was here all night trying to get on the same page as like everybody else. Or you're like, Belichick, you get it. And then, but you have to be a Pats fan. We'll ask Steph on the break. You're like, you have to be going, really? Is this like Belichick version 2.0? Like, no, give us something new here. That's a Belichickian line. He was here all night.
You think about, like, we both played poker, right? When you have a bad night, someone goes, how'd it go? You're like, man, it didn't go well. It didn't go well. When you say it twice, that's a bad sign.
Let's look at Major League Baseball, see if there's anything that made it into our accounts today. At the very least, we will say if Mike has a couple of bets in there. I think he does.
This is The Handle with Matt Brown and Mike Summage on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you do not already have a DraftKings Sportsbook account, we got a good deal for you because you're going to get some free stuff. Go in, download the app. When you make your deposit, use promo code VSiN, V-S-I-N. And when you do, go in, make a $5 bet, and we're going to give you $150 instantly in bonus bets. But you got to use that promo code VSiN, V-S-I-N, when you go in, make your deposit, bet at least $5, and we'll give you $150 instantly in bonus bets. That's what we do for you. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Matt, Mike here on a Sunday. I'm still just kind of giggling, Mike, about because you were right, and the more you read it, it's like when you have to kind of repeat yourself, you're editing yourself on the fly because you were about to say something else, and then you realize, like, okay, I'm not going to say that. So he has a lot to work on. lot to work on. Like it's like I'm not going to say anything else. I'm not going to go with anything else. But listen, this is something that you and I kind of talked about here anyway, right? Like, it doesn't do the franchise really any good to run him out there for a team that is going to be very poor day one. It's not like some of these other situations where there's really no harm, no foul on running, Caleb Williams out or J.J. McCarthy out or even Bo Nix for that matter. But there is here for the Patriots. They just have no talent. They need another year to try to rebuild, to sign some other people, maybe another couple of years. And so I understand we've now kind of morphed Mike into this deal where do you remember when you and I were kids, like you would draft a quarterback and it was just known he was going to sit for a year or two. And like now we just assume that everybody has to play from day one. And if you don't, that means they're terrible for some reason. It's like, no, I mean, we used to let guys kind of learn the system. We used to let guys understand the NFL, the speed of the NFL. It's different than college. So you need to kind of get adjusted. Now it's like, oh, you're not going to start from day one. You must be terrible.
Yeah, you may have had one, maybe two rookie quarterbacks that would come in a year, and they would be like it'd be like Peyton Manning, where it's like, nope, he's pro ready, right? He can come in right in year one and be able to play. Everyone else sat a year and a half, at least a half year, and now it's like, nope, we're just rushing them out there. We, quote, want to know what we got, right? Isn't that the what everyone always says? But it's like, you have to give some time until you actually know what you have. And you look at like Jordan Love, you look at even Patrick Mahomes, some of these guys that have had time. And I'm not saying it's just because of the time. Right. That they're able to play well, but it doesn't hurt. And when you're a team like the Patriots, where you're, 10-1, 20-1 to win your division, you're plus 900 to make the playoffs, what's the point of rushing him out there? There isn't any upside to it. No. That's the thing. It's not like you're going to win a Super Bowl this year because Drake May is the best thing since sliced spread. That ain't happening. So you may as well give him the best opportunities to succeed.
I've said this for the last few years, and I honestly believe this. Like, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert broke our brains about what rookie quarterbacks are. Like they came in and just right off the bat looked like all pros, and it was two quarterbacks. And that's just not how it works usually. It's the exception. It's like this is not normally how it works, And so like we look at guys, and who knows? Bryce Young it might end up being a giant bust, right? But Mike, he was in a bad situation with a bad team that lacked talent, and the fact that he didn't have a good season should have been expected, and instead everyone's like, oh man, he's terrible. Look at this guy. I mean, what a waste of a pick. And I mean, maybe it will play out that he was a bad pick, or maybe it will play out that he's a bust, but for us to draw that conclusion about a rookie quarterback on a bad team, it's like, come on man, let's pump the brakes just a tad.
Well, it's interesting how some people get passes for it too. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence was not good his rookie year, right? And that was a bad team with bad coaching. But Bryce Young, everyone's like, nope, he's a bust after 1 year. And Trevor Lawrence, you're still getting the benefit of the doubt multiple years into this because of the pedigree, even though Bryce Young was number one overall, went to Alabama, had everything else. It's fascinating to me how fast we make decisions on these guys who are in terrible situations. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying that he's going to play phenomenal. But at the same time, it's so hard to judge some of these guys. And Bryce Young probably would have been better off sitting last year. Yeah. It didn't really help his development to get crushed behind a bad offensive line with no receivers to throw to.
Well, I lost my lone baseball bet there yesterday, Mike. Should have played the first five instead of the full game. Like I said, I was like, you know what? I'm not worried about it. I'll play the full game instead of the first five. 8-3 in the first five, and then and then Toronto rattled off innings of 3-2 to win the game 10-8 over Minnesota. So yeah, not great there, but maybe we can rally here today. Let's get things going. You are looking at the Red Sox. That is a 10:35 Pacific, so we got about 40-ish minutes till this one goes. Mackenzie Gore for the Nationals, Brian Bello there for the Red Sox. They are minus 135 home favorites, plus 114 if you like the Nats on the road. 7.5 is your total.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the home team here in the Red Sox, and we're going to lay the half run in the first five. You can get plus 112 right now in the first five. Red Sox minus a half run. I don't have this Nationals team rated as well as they currently are. They're 19-19. I've got them a little bit lower. It feels like they've had a hot start here, and you're getting a little bit better of a price on a Red Sox team that I've upgraded since the season started. I expected them to be pretty poor, but they've been able to hit the baseball. Bello been pitching very well for him. I respect Gore. He's one of the pitchers that I bet on last year with this Nationals team, but he has been up and down this season. You've had some very bad outings, including the last one against the Blue Jays where he gave up 6 over 3 innings. I'm going to try and play continue to play that variance there and lay the half run first five with the Red Sox plus 112 here.
You know, Mike, going back to yesterday, Tigers 8-2 winners over the Astros. That does make the Tigers over 500, right? We said it's kind of a scrappy team, 2019. But the story here, really, so now the Astros are 14-25, right? They are 11 games sub 500. I understand it's early, and I understand there's a lot of baseball still to be played, but you at some point have to start digging out of this hole, right? You at some point have to start making a move in the right direction, and it is just not happening for this Astros team. I'm wondering if we're not going to see Astros as sellers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you just expect them to be right there. You expect them to be buyers. You expect them to be in the hunt. And again, I know a lot of baseball to be played, but when you're 11 games under 500, it is a tough task to get back in there, especially when you have a division that has been actually a little bit better than we thought, because we knew the Mariners and Rangers were going to be but now you don't really have just an easy out in the A's either in all of this. They're kind of a scrappy squad out of nowhere. So, man, I don't know. I think I'm a seller here on this Astros team. I know a lot of people are saying, they'll right the ship. It'll be fine. They'll come around. 11 games under 500, man.
Yeah, 11 under 500 and still just plus 370 to win the division. So the expectation from the betting market is they will come around. And they are fortunate to have the Rangers and the Mariners sitting there at 22-19, 21-19 respectively. They could be a lot more than 7 games back if either of those teams played very good baseball. Mariners right now plus 125 to win the division. I like this Mariners team. I was disappointed with how the season started for them, specifically with the bats, but they seem to be heating up with the bats now. I think the M's are the dangerous team in this division. The Rangers obviously went to the World Series last year, were great, phenomenal. I still don't fully trust them. So for me, it would be the Mariners right now if I was playing anything in this division. But the Astros need to get it going fast. It's funny, we talk about them every week because they continue to struggle every week, expecting to see them turn it around, and you're just not seeing it. And there are a lot of selling pieces on this Astros team if they do end up bottoming out here. They need to get it going in the next 20-25 games, or else it could be a long summer there in Houston.
Same time, first pitch here, Twins and Blue Jays. This is Bailey Ober for the Twins. The Blue Jays are going to put Alek Manoah out there. Ober and the Twins are going to be minus 122 road favorites here in this one, plus 102 if you want the Jays at home. 8 is our total. I missed on them yesterday, Mike. You're going to go in. Hopefully you hit on them today.
Yeah, I'm going back to the well for you here. And this is just, I don't want any part of
They had the lead, man, and then it wasn't the problem was they didn't get to the good relievers. It was the middle relievers. They didn't get to the guys at the end, and so the middle relievers just gave it up and couldn't get it done. But it is what it is. It's okay. We move on.
This Blue Jays team starting to hit, but specifically Guerrero starting to hit the baseball a lot better. Still having Bichette struggling in this lineup, but Guerrero starting to hit for this Blue Jays team. But I want no part of Manoah. I don't know how many more times I'm going to get to bet against him. He was someone who was touted, who pitched very well, and then just mentally blew up and has not been able to figure it out again since. Right now sporting a 13.5 ERA. You might get 1-2 more starts in the majors if he pitches as poorly as he did last time. I'm willing to back the Twins here as a short favorite, minus 122, just to go against Manoah.
If you want to tune in to someone who is in the Cy Young mix right now, the Phillies are going to put Zach Wheeler on the hill. They are big, huge, minus 198 favorites over the Marlins, and mainly because not only have they been hitting the ball well, this Phillies team really, really good, even without Trey Turner in there. But Zach Wheeler is a guy that, if really kind of the post type sleeper here. I mean, tons of everything around him when he was with the Mets, and then it just never really panned out. And then now Zach Wheeler kind of finding his groove in the latter part of his career, but has become a very, very good pitcher and is one of your Cy Young favorites.
Yeah, it was nice to cash the Phillies minus 130 yesterday. That was wildly mispriced. This Marlins team is the worst team in baseball right now, just 10 wins. The White Sox have, quote unquote, gotten a little hotter, so they've got 13 now at this point. Rocky's sitting there with 11. This Marlins team's bad. They trade away their best hitter. It's Phillies or pass. I don't hate the minus 1.5 here, Matt.
Yeah,
it's minus 1.5, minus 125. Like that's not a terrible price for the Phillies with a possible Cy Young starter against this lineup.
That's the thing is, like with Wheeler on the hill, you got to assume you're not going to get very much out of the Marlins, right? And so covering that run line is at least certainly within the realm of possibilities here. When we come back, we search the internet, we get all the news, and we decide, is it good or is it bad? Mother's Day edition of The Handle here.